Hey, what's up everybody? This is Always Before You, and I want to show you a headlamp I recently got. I'm pretty excited to show you this because I don't think there's any other really reviews on YouTube. I saw one. It was, I believe, in Spanish. There's one on Zappos, but they don't really tell you much. And I'm not even sure how to say this, if it's Mammut or Mammut, but they make some good stuff. Swiss company, goes back to the 1800s, primarily known for rope. They're very pioneering in climbing rope design, materials, etc. And they got their hand in all sorts of stuff over the past 15 to 20 years, sleeping bags and headlamps and all sorts of other things, clothing. And they make a lot of good stuff. But they're not too big here in the States. Some places carry them, but it's not a ubiquitous brand like Patagonia or Marmot, or in terms of headlamps like Princeton Tech or Petzl or anything like that. But I've always been intrigued by their stuff, and I know overseas it's a lot bigger, so I wanted to check this out. I wanted to see if they were maybe doing something different than some of the ones that you always see in stores are doing, and see how the performance is, obviously. So one thing is I just have this here. The packaging is kind of cool, definitely nicer than most of the packaging you see on other headlamps, which are just, clamshell packaging. This really has almost kind of like an Apple Macintosh-esque type feeling, just a very plain box, and, I don't know, it comes off pretty smooth to me. The model is the T-Trail, and here's some of your basic specs. 80 hours, I believe, is total run time. I think that's on low. 60 lumens is your high setting. There are 3 settings, low, medium, and high. Let's see what I want to show you here. Let's see if I can get this down there. There we go. So it's a flood headlamp. Okay. Switch lock 2. What that means is that this button on top, almost impossible to accidentally drain your battery, because to turn this on, you don't just hit it. Hitting it does nothing. So you're thinking, well, how do you get it on? Got to hit it twice in rapid succession. 1, 2. And then that puts you to low. Medium, high, off. Okay, so your switch lock, that's just so you don't accidentally turn it on. Really cool. Alpine emergency is kind of just like a intermittent. I believe that means every 6 seconds. Because that's about what it seems to me. It basically flashes a light every 6 seconds. It's not like a strobe. It's just a very slow, intermittent flash. Watertight. Now, I don't see any reference on here to, I believe it's IPX6, or the other manufacturers there's a standardization in terms of water resistance, and they'll list it. I guess they have to submit their product for that, to put that on here. They don't have that anywhere here. But they do say watertight, and they do a little something extra, which I want to show you. I'm very happy with what I see in their battery compartment. And they have a battery check. 45-degree angle, your light's coming out. Low, medium, and high settings. There's your approximate max distances. Here's your run times, alleged run times. I can't confirm or deny any of these as of yet. 3 AAAs. Very light. The headlamp without any batteries is very light, and then even with it, it's only about 3 ounces. And let's just mention that it's made in China, although they do like to push the Swiss thing. So I guess their technology, but it's like so many things, made in China. Okay, T-Trail. Instructions that come with it. Pretty good instructions, a bunch of different languages, very easy to figure out. You don't really need them, but always nice to have them just in case. How to open it, how to close it, and basic operation. Low, medium, and high. Off. Alpine emergency. 6 signals per minute. I just learned something. I thought it was every 6 seconds, 6 signals per minute. That's alpine emergency. Climbers and people who are more familiar, that might have significance to you. Me, I'm just used to having like one of the fast strobes on a light, but I've never seen this alpine emergency. Let's see, and then again, in here they're going to show you the, here's the English section, they're going to show you the low, medium, high run times, operation, you know, they spell it out for you. So, you know, basic instructions, but they're good in case you would want to reference them for anything. But it's an easy light. Nothing very complicated here, which I like. I'm not really into like some of the, there's some lights out there, if you really get away from the stuff in stores, if you look at some places online, you get some lights that have just really deep features, and I like simplicity myself. I don't need a million features. I don't want to have to worry about that. So let's look at the light. Start with the headband. The headband is a nice headband. It feels good. One thing to note though, I have some other lamps here. I'm just going to kind of roll in as I do this. So here's like a Princeton Tech Remix. Princeton Techs have a nice fuzzy. It's really soft and fuzzy band. I'll roll in some other headlamps here, as do Petzl's. Pretty much the same exact thing. You know, of course elastic, but it has a nice soft fuzzy feeling to it. The Mammut, nothing like that. Good elastic, but it doesn't have a soft feeling to it. That doesn't mean it's uncomfortable. It doesn't mean it's hard. Obviously, it's very soft and pliable, but it just doesn't have that fuzziness to it. So, you know, just be aware of that. If you like red, or if your interest is piqued by the design, you know, Mammut is going for a little bit of a funky design here. Kind of like the red, only because, and I don't know what the chances are of this happening, but not when it's on your head, obviously, but if you were carrying it in maybe a one of the side pockets of a backpack, or I guess somewhere in some event, if you dropped your headlamp, I think it's advantageous to have maybe some brightly colored band, making it easier to see than, say, a black one. You know, odds are you're going to find either if you're dropping it on the trail, but brighter colors are easier to see. So there's that. Let's take a look at the actual headlamp itself. Okay, unique feature here. Your batteries are in this main compartment, but different than most other headlamps. Only this one front portion is actually ratchets or moves. So this, your head, you know, you got a nice curve there. There's where your forehead is, and only this moves. Just that one portion. I thought two things when I thought that. One, I was thinking of the mechanics of it. I said, you can kind of see the light going between there and the other side there. I'm thinking, alright, so the batteries are in here, so somehow there's a contact or a wire going on one or either sides, and it's also in a place where it's rotating. Is that going to be susceptible to wear and tear? Is that more susceptible to water getting in there and maybe causing a problem? You know, different than like a Princeton Tech where everything's all in one. So, you know, this rotates, but all the electronics and the batteries are housed together. There's nothing, you know, there's no separation of the two. Here you have just the opposite. You have your power source here, and somehow it's got to get that power into this separate rotating thingamajig. So I don't know what to make of that. Like I said, there's not a lot of information on these out there on this particular model. You know, I've never heard anything bad, but I don't know. The plus to that is if ever had an experience where when you're walking or running, if the motion of your head going up and down, I guess it'd be particularly in running or, you know, maybe hiking on some really uneven terrain, if the motion of your head, I had this happen on one of my lights, causes the actual ratcheting mechanism, say like on something like this. It didn't happen to me on a Petzl, but you get the idea. Moving up and down, this thing could kind of fall because the batteries and everything are in here. It's got weight to it. It's relatively heavy. So I had one where just as I was using it, it would kind of, you know, just kind of go down on me. I had to keep correcting it. So that can't happen here because this is very lightweight, because there's just a couple bulbs and a switch there. Let's take a look at the battery door. So it says right there, open. It's a good system. I like it because it's closed really well, but you don't have to break your fingernail to get in there either. It's just the right amount of tension. So you just pop it open and then kind of pry it from the back. I'm going to pull this back so you can see a little bit better. So here's something interesting. Take note of this. You can't drop this battery door because there's these hinges that are affixed to it, and then the other ends of them are underneath here. And they also help you if you pull this with popping out the first battery. Like that. You just pull that up, pops out the first battery, and then you can just get to the others. So that's pretty cool. I like this feature a lot here. Now here's what I was talking about before with the, remember I said watertight right there? Here, check this out. This is pretty cool. If you look at that, look at the perimeter of the battery door. All around the edge there. That's foam. That's a thin layer of foam that goes all the way around. And hey, and that's nice. You know, it's not, I don't think it's as good as a rubber seal, but it's something. It's not just plastic to plastic contact. You know you're going to have a gap if it's plastic to plastic, right? It's not going to be perfect. But having that little bit of a foam seal on there fills in that extra space, and you know, if any water were to get in between that space, it's got the foam to deal with. So I like that. I like that a lot, actually. It's pretty good. And putting it back is pretty simple. The only thing you have to do is you have a little hinge here. You have to kind of get it on there first and then clip in the other side. So you get this part in, oops, get that part in, and then clip it in. And I don't mind taking a moment to do that here, because when it's all said and done, having, you know, the hinge there and this, I feel like it's, the seams and everything are really tight, and I know that it's compressing that foam. So in terms of water resistance, you know, it's not a true gasket screw down type, but I think this affords you more than some of the others that just, you know, have a regular snap closed door with, you know, nothing in between. Okay, so that's the battery compartment. Okay, now let's take a look at the operation. Like I was saying earlier, it's really straightforward. This thing here is nice. There's no gap around the button for any water to enter. It's really just kind of one and the same with the plastic bezel. That little different colored plastic there is kind of a window to see the battery meter, that little guy right there. And when you turn it on low, you will see, I've only seen a green light because my batteries have been good, but it'll go red when your batteries are starting to get low. Okay, so one thing about this though is that even though it's good, it's tactile, it's rubber, and you got these really prominent ridges here, the switch is a very, very small switch with a very small amount of travel. So if you're hitting it to the sides, you're never going to turn it on. I mean, it's physically impossible. Even though they have this big piece of rubber, you really have to isolate your pushing to right in the center. Right, and that's where it is. Right there in the center. And you see how it's not turning on because that's that double click mechanism to prevent it from going on accidentally. So basic operation, double click it to turn it on. It's going to default to low. Okay, there's low. You see the green? It's going to go on for a few seconds and then turn off. Okay, so that's your battery meter. That's going to go on every time you turn it on while you're in low. If I was to have rapidly gone to medium or high, it would have switched off immediately. So it just goes on for a few seconds when you turn it to low. So that's how you would check it. Okay, so one thing, really the only thing you have to know about the operation here is some units, some headlamps, after you have them on for a few seconds, the next time you hit this, it'll go off. Not so on the Mammut, the Mammut. Right now we're in low, and we've waited, or I've waited maybe 20 seconds now, and I could wait another 5 minutes. It's going to stay in low, or what I mean to say is the next thing that's going to happen when I press this is it's going to go to medium. So no matter what the duration of time, it's not going to turn off on you. The cycle is high, medium, and low, off. That's just the way it works. And this next will be high, and then off. And that's it. Every time. 2 for on, medium, high, off. And you can see again when you're in low, you see that green coming in the corner there. There's your battery meter, just turned off. Medium, high, off. And the only other feature was if you hold it down, it's going to go into that alpine, what do they call it here? Alpine emergency. And then I think it said 6 flashes per minute. So I guess that would make it once every 10 seconds, although it seems a little faster than that. And that's it. And then to turn it off, you just hit this once. And now you're just back into regular mode, and you would, turn it on normally. So that's it. Next, I'm going to show you the output, and I'm going to show you in comparison to some of my other lights here, because by itself it's hard. You really have to have it next to maybe other models that you have seen used or seen in stores or something. So again, they claim on this 60 lumens on high. So we're going to see how that works out. But it is a very unique system here. You can see like these plastic kind of lenses actually protrude out of here, different than something like a Princeton Tech Fuel where it's flat. And I think those are the actual bulbs that you would have like on a little keychain light. They just kind of stick 4 bulbs in there and put a cover over them. Here, these are kind of like focusing things. You could just see by the way the light's bending. And if you can see inside there, the LEDs are kind of like, they're weird. They're not your usual little ones. Even though they're being magnified, when I get it at the right angle here, I don't know if I can show you on the video, but they're really like super flat. They don't look like normal LEDs you see like in an LED flashlight or something. So that might have something to do with the claimed runtime on this. There might be some, I'm not familiar with LEDs, I am ignorant. Someone might be able to help me out here with different types, but to me they look exceptionally flat and larger than most, even considering the magnification. And so I'm wondering if that's something in an effort to extend the run times by using a very high efficient, 4 high efficient LEDs. Speculation there, I'm not really sure. So next I'm going to throw this in a dark room. It's going to go against a plain white wall, and I'm just going to show you the intensity and the pattern and compare it to some of my other lights. Okay, let's do that now. Alright, here we go. So there's a, this is one of the side walls in my bedroom. It's just totally flat and white. You could see there's the corners of it. And if I were to go down a little bit more, that would be the bed. So I'm trying to show you basically as much as I can of an entire wall here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take the T-Trail and I'm going to put it on my head, and I'll just kind of tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it, which one I'm covering up and which one I'm showing you at the moment. So let's get this on, and I'm going to cut the light right now. Okay, so here we go. Let's put this into low. Okay, now I don't know how I have the colors set up on the camera, so on my viewfinder that looks really, really blue. In person, it is a very cool white. Not super blue, but definitely a cool white. So there's low, here's medium, and here's high. Now they claim a 45-degree angle. Just for reference, I'm about, I'd say I'm probably about 9 to 10 feet from that wall where my head is right now. There's my dresser, there's an end table. Okay, so you can kind of see it's a flood but with some spill in there. Okay, so let's compare that now to, this is going to be a Princeton Tech Remix. So let's go through the cycles here. Princeton Tech Remix always starts on red, high red, hold it to low, hold it to high. Okay, so you can see right there the flood pattern versus the spot pattern. Let me cover up the T-Trail. Okay, so there's your Princeton Tech. Now allegedly this is the, I can't say because they change a lot. And I know they have the 100 lumen ones out now. I'm almost positive that this one is the 100 lumen model, but it's never looked like that to me. I might have got the 70 lumen one. I think that was the predecessor. didn't keep the packaging, I'm not entirely sure. And my batteries in here are testing those are pretty good. So, but this, as you can see, is very much spot with a little bit of spill off to the sides. I'm covering up the T-Trail. I'm going to let that go now, and there's the T-Trail. So you can see the difference in color temperature. This one here looks like a more of a warmer color. Actually, it's more actual, you know, like a natural sunlight color, whereas the T-Trail has that bluish white to it, which typically it makes it appear brighter, and I guess increases efficiency. But you know, it's going to give things a little bit of a tinge to it, if that's important to you. But in terms of lighting up an area, you know, it's really bright. Okay, next one. Petzl. Tikka. This is the XB2 battery version, not the core version. Okay, so in this one, what I love about the Petzls is that you have a spotlight if you need it, and you can go right into a flood with just a manual thing. You don't have to mess around with any buttons there. This is probably the best system, in my opinion, it is the best system out there. Just as fast as you can just flip that. It's just manual, no electronics involved. It's really nice. Okay, so let's try this here. I'm going to start with a spot, which the T-Trail is not, but let's compare it to a spot. Now this one here, my version of this is 60 lumens. They're up to 80 now, but when I bought it, it was 60. Okay, so my T-Trail is allegedly 60, but it's in flood. The Petzl is 60, and that's the Petzl in 60 in spot. Again, you can see the color temperature difference. I just flipped the switch. Now we're in flood on both. There's the Petzl kind of off to the right there. I'm going to put the Petzl down. Here's the T-Trail again. Just kind of moving my head around. I'm going to cover up the T-Trail now and go to the Petzl. So even their flood, I think, is a little bit more circular in spot than the T-Trail, just by the nature of, you know, having that one LED versus 4. So again, this is Petzl. All right. And let's go to the, I'm going to hide this one. Let's go to the, real quickly go to the T-Trail. You know, so definitely wider there. Definitely just illuminates more of the room. Cover up that, go back to the Petzl. You know, so that, again, this is on flood, and let me get a spot. And there's your spot. Versus the Mammut. Okay. Let's go to, now this one I actually have to hold the battery compartment door because, like so many other people, this is a great light, but a bad design on the battery compartment. That thing will break. The tension is too high. It just breaks. It just does. Otherwise, a great light. Very similar though, to the Mammut. Otherwise, you have 4 LEDs. This one is the older one. This is rated at 43 lumens. They just came out with a new one. I believe it's 70 something. So I'm gonna have to hold this door the entire time I'm doing this. I'm gonna do my best, and I'm just gonna knock this up to high, low. Oh, it starts on high. Just the reverse of the Mammut actually. Starts on high, which I actually prefer it starting on low, like the Mammut does, but the Princetons are the reverse. They go high, medium, low. So let's put it, there's strobe. Let's put it in high, and I'll cover up the Mammut. So there's your Princeton Tech. And let's go cover that and go to the Mammut real quick. And the Mammut. You can see the Mammut really illuminates, I think, more of the wall than anything else with its flood. And I'll cover that up and go to the Princeton. And again, this is on high, and these are good batteries. These are fresh batteries. But this one, the Princeton, remember, is rated at 43 lumens. And switch back to the Mammut. And again, that's allegedly 60 lumens. I tell you, as I'm covering up the Mammut, the light is actually getting pretty warm. So it's really cranking up some power there. And the last one I'm going to compare it to is something totally, almost non-relatable, but it's the last one I have. And it's a great little light, and it really excels at being a very, very lightweight light. This is just over an ounce. Takes coin cells, lasts a really long time. rated at 22 lumens, and it's got this focusing thing here. This is the E-Gear EQ2, and it's going to be a really, really tight spot. Very, very different, but I'll just compare it for you. You can see the color is a blue. Puts even the cool white of the Mammut to shame. I mean, it's definitely got blue fringing and blue coloration to it. It almost looks like one of those kind of like beams you see shooting out of the sky at like a movie premiere or something. I mean, it's so circular with such a well-defined edge. Just totally different. But allegedly this is 22 lumens. So I'm going to cover up the Mammut. You just take a look at that. And you can see how there's not a lot of, almost no spill. I mean, in practice here in the room, it does spill. I could see other things, like I could even make out the dresser over here, that one, when I'm looking at this one. The camera doesn't pick it up, but I could see it. I mean, it does spill. It's just the limitations of the sensitivity of the camera. But overall, it's very much a little spotlight versus the Mammut, which kind of lights up everything. So my initial impressions upon comparing all these are that as a floodlight, this Mammut really excels. The color temp, I think, is a good compromise between being not too blue, not too cool, but cool enough for high efficiency and really white. It definitely has the whitest beam pattern with, I'd say, a pretty good hot spot in the center, but nothing really separate from the rest of the light. It spills evenly. There's no, there's no fringing, or what do I want to say, like, irregularities as you move out to the sides. It's very clear and consistent. I'm kind of talking to like real flashlight and headlight aficionados here. I know some of the people are concerned about that stuff. For normal folk out there, I would just tell you that this is a great headlamp. It's really bright, it's really easy to use, and it seems to just offer you the best in terms of total area illumination. I think it's excellent, actually. It's superb. I'm excited to get this out and do some hiking with it at night, and just test it, kind of camping, backpacking, getting it out in the field. But just from what I'm seeing here, compared to the other ones I've used in the field, I like having that big, bright, wide spotlight. I find it to just be the most useful thing. Or not spotlight, I'm sorry, floodlight. Okay, so that's good. It's the performance of the light, and if you have any questions about it, because like I said, there's really not too much out there on this one, feel free. Ask me a question, leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you. Thanks.